I'd like to answer the question, why would Jesus die? The answer to that question is in one single verse in the Bible. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that no one shall perish but have eternal life. John 3:16. Now love is the motivation for God to have sent his only begotten Son. When you look at the word begotten, it means derived from. And I remember once listening to a Muslim apologist who, his name is Zakir Hussain. He was saying that begottenness is something animals do, and he said it with such contempt. But begottenness, I'm sure he referred to it as reproduction. But this begotten Son of God was not begotten. He was not born of reproduction, but he was a son by replication. He was the very Spirit of God. It was the very Spirit of God that came to this earth and was conceived in a virgin's womb as the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who is the Messiah, the chosen one. And the latter part of this verse, John 3:16, it says that no one will perish. What is perishing according to God? Perishing according to God is the perishing of a person's soul. It's the death of somebody's soul. It's the death of somebody's spirit. Human body will die at some point, but your soul, your spirit will live on forever. And it is this soul that God does not want it to die, but rather that it would have eternal life. And what is eternal life? Eternal life is simply the presence of God. It is living in the presence of God, your spirit being alive and well in God's presence. So God loved this world so much that the love he had for the people motivated him to send his only Son that was replicated of him, so that no person would die a spiritual death, but that everyone would end up and live in the eternal presence, in the beautiful eternal presence of God. Now, when Jesus came on this earth and he walked this earth, he was driven by compassion to do many things, like heal people, raise people from the dead, make the blind see, make the lame walk. And all this he was driven by compassion. But when he got on the cross, he was driven by the love of God. Jesus, being the very Spirit of God inside a human body, took this cancer-like flesh that is so prone to wrongdoing, that is prone to violence, that is prone to judgment, taking all of this and nailing it to the cross. Only because it was the Spirit of God did Jesus have the strength to go on the cross and die for the sins of mankind. Now, when you look at sin is not, if you look at a murderer, you always compare yourself. You say, oh, I'm not as bad as him. But you know what? I know that when I was younger, when I had a teacher who was really annoying, I know that under my breath, I said, I wish she would die. You know what? That makes me a murderer. I have not killed with my hands, but I have killed with my heart. That makes me a murderer. Even the smallest thing against a perfect and sinless God, even the smallest thing, it's who we are. We are imperfect. Nobody can claim to be perfect. Absolutely nobody. And this imperfection is what causes us to be sinners. And this imperfection is what causes us for our spirit to perish. And that's the very thing that God doesn't want, because he loves us. And he sent Jesus. He sent his very own Spirit, God, coming on this earth in the flesh of Jesus, in this man that walked on this earth, that he could take all of the sin of the entire world, not just the people who were there at that time, but the people who were before Jesus and the people who will come after Jesus. Each and every single person's sin that Jesus was able to carry to the cross and nail it there. Why would he die? Just for love. Thank you.